everyone, I'm Leslie and welcome back to my channel. If you like budgeting and decluttering videos, you are in the right place. Today we are talking about activities and hobbies that you can do for a very low cost. So definitely subscribe for more videos if that sounds interesting to you. Recently, I posted a video just talking about hobbies in general and how social media has really changed the way people approach hobbies. They've become very consumerist. You tend to want to be a perfectionist with what you're doing. So these are some low-cost hobbies that you can just give a try, see if you like them. You don't have to go out and spend hundreds of dollars to get started with these things. A lot of hobbies in general are really what you make of them. So for example, with drawing, you could get a very simple set of pencil. You could even start with literally one pencil and some printer paper, or you could get professional grade like graphite pencils and really fancy sketch paper. It all just depends on what you want to spend. So it's totally fine to start small and sort of dip your toes into something and see if you like it. So I have done about 1 billion hobbies in my life. So many of these I do have personal experience with and would recommend. I've broken them up into categories to make it a little bit easier, and I will add timestamps in case you want to jump around. So the very first category is creative or artistic hobbies. So as I mentioned, drawing is one, painting, honestly, any kind of artistic hobby is, like I mentioned, what you make of it. So you can get really cheap materials if you want, or you can go all the way up to professional levels. So drawing, sketching, painting, sculpture, clay is really fun to work with. I did a lot of polymer clay. At one point I was making a ton of earrings. It was so much fun. So polymer clay is great. Paint, you have acrylics, watercolor, oil paint. Okay, so oil paint is probably not the best one to start with because you do have to buy more materials if you're going to do oil paint, and it's not super beginner friendly because it's kind of hard to know what materials to buy. I did oil painting for a very short time. My grandma was an oil painter, so I was like, maybe it's in my genes and I'll know what I'm doing, but it was really difficult. So I would definitely recommend doing watercolor or acrylic instead if you're looking into paint. One that can be completely free is photography, because assuming you already have a phone, you have your camera right there. And if you find that you're really getting into it, then you can go and buy an actual really nice camera. But you can always just start with using your phone for photography. You can do writing. So you could literally write with pencil and paper, but I think it would be easier if you just use your computer. You can use your tablet. You can even use your phone. My husband was doing some creative writing on his phone. So it's just whatever you have to start with, you can just use that. You could use Google Docs if you don't have Microsoft Word. So you can get started with writing for a very low cost. And if you get good with it, as much as I don't want to recommend monetizing hobbies, it is so easy to self-publish things at this point. So that's something to think about as well. If you have a tablet, you could always do digital art, or even things like digital coloring. If you don't want to do the digital version, there's always just literal coloring books. That you also have to kind of be careful with because it's really easy to go overboard. Start with just a couple of coloring books. Make sure you don't go out and buy like 20 different ones. Get a couple that appeal to you and then get whatever medium you want to use to color. You could literally use crayons if you want, but I prefer colored pencils. Sometimes I will use markers. I'm not a huge fan of alcohol markers. I know you can come at me in the comments. Those are so popular with people, but I just really don't like alcohol markers. You can use pretty much anything you want to color. Another thing would be something like origami or other paper crafts. Things like scrapbooking can get kind of pricey to start out with. So if you're doing a lot of paper stuff, I would definitely be careful with that one. It's sort of hard to buy what you need because it seems like you need quite a few things to get started with something like scrapbooking. How do I know? Because I've done it before. And I did it a lot in high school actually, and then I just completely got away from it. One that may seem expensive but may be more affordable than you think is playing an instrument. So I actually play, I started on piano, then I played violin and guitar and ukulele. So I've been through a lot of instruments, and I remember when I was playing violin and guitar, I actually rented them for a while before we bought them. So it's always possible to rent instruments. I have no idea what the price is like now for renting. I'm sure it's not like crazy cheap, but it might be a good way to start with something. I don't know if you have to rent for a certain period of time, but maybe you could find somewhere that has like maybe rent it for a couple months and see if you like it, because it'd be much better to pay that rental fee than to buy a whole instrument and then not play it. But even buying can be more affordable than you think also. If you look at someplace like Facebook Marketplace or even like yard sales or garage sales, you can usually find an old instrument that someone's trying to get rid of. I know that I'm actually trying to get rid of my guitar, my old violin. I haven't played violin in like 15 years. And guitar, it's been about 5 years, but I don't really plan on going back to it. So I'm definitely trying to get rid of those things. But so if someone told me they were looking for one, I would totally offer to sell it to them for pretty cheap. So if you tell people that you're looking into these things, you may get lucky and find someone who's trying to get rid of something. So with things like crafts, that's another one that is what you make of it. If you want to just spend a little bit, you can, or you can go up from there. I know everyone's definition of affordable or cheap is going to be a little bit different. If someone told me that crochet was cheap, I would probably laugh at them. But honestly, it's only expensive because when I first started, I made it expensive by buying a ton of yarn. But if I'm really thinking about it, if you do small projects that don't need a ton of yarn, it's actually pretty affordable. The hooks aren't terribly expensive. Just like one skein of yarn isn't too bad, especially if you buy cheap yarn. Cheap yarn is really affordable. So that's one that you can do if you're okay with sticking to lower quality materials. I can't even talk. I'm so worked up. I get so excited about yarn. But you definitely don't want to be buying these fancy artisan natural material yarns because they get so pricey. So just stick to the really basic acrylic yarn. One thing I will warn you about is if you're using acrylic yarn, that means it's plastic. So you don't want to make something that's going to be like a pot holder or something that will involve a lot of heat, because you will literally melt your project. Also, I did say crochet, but that also includes knitting. They're both yarn crafts. I think knitting's a little bit harder. It took me a little longer to yarn. I still can't. It took me a little longer to learn knitting than it did crochet. So that's why I recommend that if you're a beginner. But you can always give it a shot. You never know. And one thing that's cool about that is that I always make wearables. So even though I'm spending money on yarn, it's something I'm going to wear. So that's one less sweater I have to buy. To be fair, it's also a sweater I probably didn't need, but at least I got to have fun making it. Another one that's kind of in the realm of fiber crafts, actually two more. I've done a lot of fiber crafts, so I'm pretty familiar with the pricing on all of that. So macrame. I have my macrame shop, and my other channel is actually a macrame tutorial channel. So I guess I can plug it here. I don't post too many tutorials. I actually don't post any tutorials on there anymore. But I do have some that are very beginner friendly, and macrame cord is actually really affordable. You can get a huge roll of macrame cord for like $20, and then you need a dowel to use. I think Michael's has those for like a few bucks. So for maybe 25 bucks, you can get a ton of materials. And the $20 worth of macrame cord, that makes a lot of projects. So you can probably get like, I guess depending on how big the project is, like four projects out of that big roll of macrame cord, and then you just need a few dowels. So it's definitely really affordable. The only thing that makes it not affordable is if you're buying really thick, high quality macrame cord. But if you're just starting out, you really don't need that. To be honest, I don't even use the super high quality stuff myself because you just don't need it. The other one is what my Etsy shop actually started out as. It started out as a cross stitch shop. So I don't have cross stitch stuff listed anymore, but cross stitch can be very affordable as well. Or embroidery, they're very similar. Cross stitch is just all the little X's, and embroidery is just like sewing along a line. So either of those are really good options. You can even find really reasonably priced kits. And speaking of kits, I do have a macrame kit for sale. I think it's like $20 plus shipping. I'll link that below if you're interested in trying macrame. But yeah, definitely look at some craft kits. You can look on Etsy. There are tons of them. Just find one that appeals to you. Craft kits can be a little hit or miss because usually they are more expensive than if you bought everything individually, but it can be a really good way to kind of get started with something if you're just looking for something to try. Some other kits to look into if you're just looking for something simple like that would be paint by numbers, or also those diamond painting kits. Those are really good options as well. I know at Michael's they tend to have coupons, so you can always find a coupon for like 25 to 40% off. I know I've gotten a paint by numbers kit. It was a pretty good size for like $8, so that can be very cheap as well. Hopefully I'm not leaving too much out here with the craft and creative type stuff, because like I said, I've done so many that it's honestly just hard to remember. Yeah. Oh, journaling would be a good one. So that just requires like a notebook. If you want to buy some cute markers or pens or something, you can do that. Just again, keep in mind how much you're spending. Don't go overboard if you aren't sure you're gonna like it. Okay, so this is like the third time I've been about to move on to the next category, but I kept thinking of new things for the creative stuff. So the next category is going to be active hobbies. So things like walking, working out, going on jogs, hiking, bike riding, any of these things. So when it comes to active hobbies, some of this might require you to buy something. It sort of just depends on what you have. So for me, I absolutely love going on walks and I love working out. So I did end up buying some workout gear, some running shoes. But if you already have like some nice shoes, you already have a bike, stuff like that, then you're good to go. If you do need to buy some things, again, Facebook Marketplace is a really great resource for that. But you can also catch sales sometimes. Any kind of sporting goods store, just keep an eye out for sales. That's how I got some of my dumbbells. Amazon is a great resource too. I mean, Amazon's always really affordable. I actually got my walking pad on Amazon that I really like. But again, you can literally just put on your sneakers and go outside and walk. It's that easy. Another one is going to be gardening. So gardening is a great active hobby. You get to be outdoors. And also I love plants. I do indoor plants though, so it's not exactly outdoor, and it's not super active either. I'm usually just sitting there chilling, like repotting my plants, but plants are definitely a fun hobby. And that's one that's pretty cool because if you look up plants that you're able to propagate, then you can have like an endless supply of plants. I know with my pothos and my snake plant, I'm always repotting new ones, and it's free because I'll just cut one off of my current plant. So that's pretty cool. If you're into plants, make sure you get ones that are able to propagate. There are also some really cool videos about regrowing kitchen scraps, things like onions, or I think you can, I actually don't know all the details because I don't remember. I haven't done it, but it looks really cool when I watch the videos. So definitely look that up. I've actually propagated basil that I bought from the store, so that was pretty cool. That was a fun little project to do. So there are things that you can do for a very low cost like that. The next category is, I guess you would call it educational, or things that involve building your skills. Things like reading. Reading would be any genre. Like, I absolutely love to read. So whether it's fiction, nonfiction, whatever you're reading, reading is such a fun hobby. It's also very cheap because, I mean, you can just get books from the library. If your library uses the Libby app, which they probably do, you can get all kinds of free books on there, audiobooks and ebooks. You can use language learning apps to learn a new language and get more resources from your library. You could always take an online course. Those sometimes do cost money depending on what you're using. Skillshare, Coursera, things like that. I think Coursera has some free courses and some paid. I know I took the Google, I think it was the IT support certification. You could take all of the courses and it was free until you actually took the test. You only had to pay for the test. So definitely look into that. Doing things like puzzles or brain games, things like logic puzzles, Sudoku, crosswords, I guess even word searches to an extent. I mean, any of those silly little games that kind of help boost your brain power, I absolutely love those. And then puzzles, I love jigsaw puzzles. I don't have a whole lot of time or room to do those. I do have an app that I'll use sometimes on my iPad if I really get the urge to do a puzzle. So that's another option too, because the apps are usually free. And then I don't really know where to throw this one, but it is sort of it is a skill, and that would be cooking or baking. That's a good one because you're gonna have to eat anyway, so you might as well just buy the ingredients and do what you can do. One thing that's kind of fun, well, I think it's fun, I don't know, it's if you're starting to run low on food but you don't feel like going to the store, you just look at what you have and try to create something with the random ingredients you have on hand. I think those are so much fun. I know whenever I used to watch MasterChef and they would do the was it mystery boxes, is that what they called it, where it was just a random box of ingredients and they had to figure out what to do with it. I always think that kind of stuff is so fun, so that's one to try also. Another one that I'm not sure where to put it would be like organizing or decluttering. I know that's kind of weird for a hobby, but it's definitely an activity you can do on a regular basis. I mean, I know there's always something in my house that needs organizing. So organizing things, that can also be something that's fun to do. The next category is things that are relaxing. So things like meditating, yoga, listening to podcasts and audiobooks, maybe watching a documentary to learn something. These are all really good activities that are very relaxing and generally free. The one exception may be audiobooks, but like I said, the Libby app has them for free, or you can do an Audible subscription for a pretty reasonable cost. I do Audible myself and I love it. The last one is going to be more social activities, so things like volunteering, playing board games with friends, joining clubs like maybe a book club or other community activities. I know my town does a community garden that's really neat. Maybe I would love to join some kind of like knitting or crochet club, but I don't really know. It's kind of hard to know how to look for that stuff unless it happens to be on like your local Facebook group. I know my town also has their Facebook group that posts a lot of local activities. That's how I tend to find stuff like that. It's actually really great if you have kids because you can find activities to do with your kids and they're usually free. Oh, you could also have like a potluck type of deal. That would actually pair really well with the board game night. I used to do that back when I worked at GameStop years ago. Some of my coworkers and we would play board games after work sometimes. So that was really fun. It would have been awesome if we had food. I wish I had thought of that at the time. Oh, there's one more I did think about, and that would be going to like local state parks. Generally those are, I think those are those free or paid? I don't know. Maybe it's both. I know if you have to pay, it's pretty cheap. So look into your local state parks. I know there's some near me. I don't think they're not like official state parks, but they're public areas. There's like one with hiking trails, there's one with a walking trail. They usually have biking trails. So places like that near you, they're probably free or at least very cheap. That's one to look into. That probably could have gone under the active outdoors category, but I totally forgot. So those are all the activities in the different categories. I'm sure I probably left something out because there are just so many hobbies. Like I said, I've done so many myself. I probably left out things that I've done on my own and just totally forgot about them. But let me know below, what are some hobbies that you have? What are some low-cost things you might recommend? Or do you have any tips for keeping hobbies low cost? I did post my other video that talks about hobbies in general and de-influencing hobbies. So it's ways to kind of keep your hobbies on the cheap side instead of spending a ton of money and feeling less pressure to do that. So I will link that below. Definitely check that out. And until then, leave me a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.